Bose Kotak. Today my topic is electric drive. I am going to describe you in details about the electric drive, which is the chapter 5 of your subject, utilization of electrical energy and traction. So first of all, we should know what is drive, then we will go to the electric drive. So if we go to the drive is what which controls the torque, which controls the speed, and which controls the position of any moving object. And if we go to the electric drive, the drive which uses the electric motor is called the electric drive. In general, the drive is used for the speed control or motion control, and if we go to the electric drive, it is controlling the speed or motion of the electric motors. Now in our daily life, if we take an example, then we are using in our household, we are using our ceiling fan, AC and washing machine, etc. In our daily life we are using. Suppose take the example of ceiling fan. In case of ceiling fan, there is a motor called single phase induction motor, which is permanent capacitor type single phase induction motor, and there are some controlling system. In case of ceiling fan, the controlling system is the regulator. We are controlling the speed of the fan by choosing the position of the regulator 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Likewise, we are controlling the speed of the fan. So if we go to the AC or washing machine, case of washing machine, and also induction motor is used, which is capacitor start induction motor. And in case of washing machine, the controlling system is we are providing the speed of the rotating speed. We are controlling the rotating speed of the washing machine by some controlling mechanism. So my aim is that the drive is consisting of a electric motor plus some control mechanism. Both of this means the electric motor and the control mechanism comprises the electric drive. So now we will go to the main parts of the electric drive. I will draw a block diagram so that you can understand easily. So first of all, the main part of the drive is the source. Then from the source we will feed the output to the power modulator. Then from the power modulator, it will provide it to the motor. Then from the motor to the load. And in between the motor and load, we will provide a sensing unit, that is the sensing unit. In between the motor and the load, and from the sensing unit we will feed it to the control unit, and from the control unit we will feed it back to the power modulator, and to the control unit we will provide some input command. So we will discuss one by one. First of all, the source. The source means the power supply to the motor. The power supply can be AC or can be of DC. Now the power supply is provided to the power modulator. The work of power modulator is it can be used as of three types. Means it can first used as a converter, or second variable impedance circuit, or third one a switching circuit. It can be used as of three types, as a converter or variable impedance circuit or switching circuit. Suppose the power modulator is used as a converter, and the work of it is, if the supply is AC, then the converter will convert it to DC, and if the supply is DC, then the converter will convert it to AC. And if it is used as a variable impedance circuit, then it will vary the impedance according to which the speed of the motor will vary. And if it is used as a switching circuit, then it will decide the mode of the motor, on which mode the motor will run, that is in motoring mode or in braking mode. And another work of the power modulator is that it regulates the power, the output power of the source, in such a manner that the requirement of the load, according to the requirement of the load, the motor will provide the torque speed characteristic. According to the required of the load, the motor will provide the torque speed characteristic. And then the power from the output of the power modulator, it will fed to the motor. So in case of motor, it can be a DC motor, it can be AC motor, such that it is of series motor or shunt motor, or AC motor case it is induction motor. And from the motor, it will provide it to the load. And in between the motor and load, there is a sensing unit. The work of the sensing unit is that it will detect the parameters like the speed of the motor, the current flowing through the motor. It will sense the parameters. If there is any overload or any overcurrent or any overspeed, it will detect the fault. It will detect the fault and it will give it through the control unit, and then the control unit work arise. The control unit controls the power modulator, regulates the power modulator, and if there is any fault or any overcurrent or overspeed, it will also protect the power modulator. And to the control unit, we are providing a input command. Input command means input command is doing or adjusting the operating point of the electric drive. Operating point means suppose this is the torque, this is the speed. This is the torque speed characteristic of the drive, and this is the torque speed characteristic of working machine. And this intersection point is called the operating point. So the work of the input command is that it will adjust the operating point of the electric drive. Okay. So next is the type of drive, that is a individual drive or a group drive. The type of drive is, one is individual drive, and next one is group drive. First of all, we see the individual drive. In case of individual drive, for every working machine there will be a separate electric motor. The drive means what? The electric motor and the controlling system. So in case of individual drive, there will be a separate or individual electric motors for different working machines. Suppose this is the motor. For this motor there will be a working machine, or working machine, or we can say it as a load. And for another working machine, there will be another load, another motor. So for different working machines, there will be individual motors. This control of speed is called individual drive. But if you go to the group drive, there will be a single motor which is of high power, and it will, from the motor there will be a main shaft. From the motor there will be main shaft, and from the motor there will be number of counter shafts. from the main shaft there will be number of counter shaft, and the working machines or the load will connected to the counter shafts one by one. So in case of groove drive, there are many many load are connected at a time, but the motor is single. A single motor is operating both a group of work or group drive, or it is called as a group drive. So in case of individual drive, the main advantage is that if the motor is some of the motor is failure or one motor is not working, it is then the particular work will be stopped. If this, suppose motor 1, motor 2, if this motor is not working or failed to operate, then this particular work will be stopped. And if this motor is not working, then this work will stop. But in case of group drive, if the main motor failed to operate, then the total work will stop, group of work will stop. This is the disadvantage of group drive, but it is the advantage of individual drive, that if the motor single motor failed to operate, so that particular work will be stopped. Then in case of individual drive, as a single motor is operating a single work, then power loss is less. But in case of group drive, suppose a motor is meant for 10 work, but at a time 4 working machines are running, but 6 working machines are stopped. Then what will happen? Then power loss will be more as compared to the individual drive, as it is meant for 10 working machine, but at a time 4 are working and 6 are stopped. So the power loss will be more in case of group drive as compared to the individual drive. But only the disadvantage of individual drive is that as there are single motor for a single work, the cost of the machine will be more as compared to the group drive. But in case of group drive, as a single motor is connected to a group of works, then the cost is less as compared to individual drive. Okay. Now we will go to the characteristic of the DC machine. The characteristics. So DC machine means it can be a series motor, it can be a shunt motor, or it can be a compound motor. So the DC machine means series motor, or it is the shunt motor, and the characteristic means what? The characteristic means in between two parameters, the behavior of one parameter with the change of another parameter. This is the characteristic in between two parameters. So suppose we take the case of series motor. There will be three characteristics. First is your torque versus armature current. Then second one is speed versus armature current, and third one is speed versus torque. Okay, so we will first see about the armature torque versus armature current. In case of DC machine, generator or motor, we know that in case of generator, the generated EMF, and in case of motor, the back EMF. The formula is that in case of motor, the formula is that EB equals to phi Z NP by 60A. And we know that for a particular machine the N is constant, the P is constant, A constant, 60 is also constant. The variable part is the flux and the Z is also constant, Z constant. The variable part is the flux and the speed and EB. So from this equation we get the formula that EB N proportional to EB by phi. N is the speed, EB is the back EMF, phi is the flux. And another formula we know that the torque is directly proportional to product of the flux and the armature current. Directly proportional to the flux and armature current, the product of flux and armature current. So if we draw the characteristic, in case of series motor, the field and armature are connected in series, so the armature current is equals to the field current. And we also know that the flux is direct, as the field and armatures are connected in series. We know that the phi is directly proportional to the Ia. The phi is proportional to the Ia, that is up to the magnetic saturation. Magnetic saturation. Magnetic saturation means up to that point, by varying the phi or varying the phi, Ia will increase, by the Ia will change, and varying the Ia, phi will change. But after the saturation point, there will be phi is independent of Ia. Then up to the point of saturation, T is proportional to phi Ia. So we can put the value of phi, T proportional to Ia. So T proportional to Ia square. Up to the saturation, the torque is directly proportional to the square of the armature current. Okay, and after the saturation, as the phi is independent of Ia, so after the saturation, the equation will be T proportional to Ia, as phi is independent of Ia. Okay, as after the saturation, phi is independent of Ia, T is proportional to Ia. Now we will draw the characteristic. The characteristic is between the torque, that is TA, armature torque, and the armature current. It is Ia. So at starting, as the T is directly proportional to the square of the armature current, the curve in between the torque and armature current will be a parabola, that is like this, like a parabola up to the saturation point. This is the saturation point. And after the saturation point, the T is proportional to what? T is proportional to Ia, as the phi is independent of Ia. So the curve is like a straight line. Up to the saturation point, it is a parabola, and after the saturation point, the curve is a straight line. So this is the characteristic in between the armature torque and the armature current. Next, the second one is our speed versus armature current. That is N versus armature current. As we know that E proportional to N proportional to EB by phi, N proportional to EB by phi, and we know that at starting, during starting, Ia is less and phi depends upon Ia, so phi will be less. As the phi is less, so speed will be high during starting condition. As the phi is less, N will be high. And if we draw the characteristic in between the speed and armature current, then it will be like this is the armature current, this is the speed N. So during starting condition, as the armature current is less, the flux is less, the speed is high. So the curve is like, okay, from a high point to it will decrease as the armature current will increase. So at starting condition the speed is very high. So we say that at no load condition the series motor should not be start. It should be start with some load, because without load at starting the speed of the series motor is dangerously high. So it should be started with some load. Then next is our third one characteristic of series motor, that is speed versus torque. So as we know, during the starting condition the armature current is less, the phi is less, and we know the formula that T proportional to the product of flux and the armature current. As the Ia is less, phi is less, the torque will be less, torque will be also less. So we, according to the formula, N proportional to Eb by phi, as the phi is less, and we can put the in place of phi, okay, if you will put T, as both phi and Ia are less, T is also less. So at less torque the speed is high. As the torque is less, the speed is high. And if we draw the characteristic, this is the torque, this is the speed. It will also like that. At lower torque the speed is high, and as the torque is increased the speed is decreased. This is the characteristic in between the speed and torque. Okay. If we go next to the shunt machine, shunt motor, then shunt motor is called as a constant speed machine. As it self-regulates its speed, it is called as a constant speed machine. It is also having the three characteristics, that is, first one is your torque versus armature current. And we know that in case of shunt motor, the field and the armature are connected in parallel. This is the field and this is the armature. These both are connected in parallel. So in case of shunt motor, phi is independent of Ia. Phi independent of Ia. So if the T proportional to Ia in case of shunt motor, as the field and armature both are connected in parallel, so phi is independent of Ia and T is proportional to Ia. And if we draw the characteristic in case of shunt motor, this is the armature current, this is the torque. So the graph will be like a straight line from origin, through the origin the graph will like a straight line as T proportional to Ia. Okay. And we will stay second one, that is speed versus armature current. As we know, it is a constant speed motor, but varying the armature current, it will decrease slowly, but in overall it is a constant speed motor. If you will draw its characteristic, as phi is independent of Ia, by changing the Ia, phi will not vary, and our formula is that N proportional to dV by phi. So by changing the armature current, the speed will be slightly reduced, but actually it is like this is the speed, this is the armature current, this is the ideal, and this is the actual. It will slightly reduce. And if we go to the third one, that is torque versus speed. It is also like that. As it is a constant speed motor, the speed will remain constant with the change of the torque. Okay, in the next video we will see the characteristic about the compound motor. Thank you.